Hey, welcome back. This is Shah. We got an update in the Kevin Costner divorce. It appears that Kevin Costner's ex-wife, Christine, now regrets divorcing him. Let's find out why. Kevin Costner's ex-wife is allegedly kicking herself and regrets filing for divorce. Handbag designer Christine Baumgartner is allegedly regretting ending her marriage to Hollywood star Kevin Costner. The mother of three filed for divorce from the actor a few months ago, but ended up not getting the child support payment she requested. Reports have it that she is now kicking herself for forcing Costner to agree to a divorce. Meanwhile, the Yellowstone star is ecstatic that the ruling went in his favor. The duo were married for 18 years and separated due to irreconcilable differences. According to a new report, Christine Baumgartner regrets filing for divorce from Kevin Costner after not getting the hefty child support payments she requested from the court. She's kicking herself for forcing Kevin to agree to a divorce when she was living the high life with unlimited funds at her disposal and everything paid for by her husband. A source close to the situation told Radar Online. During the divorce proceeding, the handbag designer, who shares three kids, Caden, Hayes, and Grace, with the Yellowstone star, was first granted $129,000 in temporary support. That would be per month. However, she requested that she be paid $248,000 per month initially, arguing that her children were used to luxury and she needed more to take care of them. Ultimately, the judge slashed the amount to $63,000 per month. So it appears that she's regretting divorcing him because she's not getting the amount of money she initially thought she was going to get. And I think the thing that we need to try to pay attention to here is when she says that she deserves $248,000 a month in child support for these kids because the kids are used to living a luxury lifestyle. An important thing to note here is that child support specifically is governed by state guidelines, and they specifically give a guideline calculator where you punch in both parents' incomes, what the parenting time is, and maybe some other factors like if they got other kids and what their tax filing status is, and that spits out a number. Now, based off of how much money you make compared to how much money the other person makes, it sets a very different amount. But the point is that a calculator very specifically, which is set by the state, calculates this. Now, a judge does have the power to deviate it for reasons. And that appears to be what Christine Baumgartner, Kevin Costner's ex-wife, was hoping for, was a deviation from the guideline amount. And the reasons that were cited were that the kids' lifestyle be maintained that they were used to from the marriage. What I'm gathering from this is that she's not getting spousal support. So it looks like there was a prenup, and what she's trying to do is get more on the child support end in order to kind of circumvent this prenup that is preventing her from getting the spousal support. Here's a article from September 8th. So this is from earlier in the month. And it says, Kevin Costner's divorce judge slams Christine's bid for more child support as disguised spousal support. Yellowstone star Kevin Costner and wife Christine Baumgartner will go to trial in November over their premarital agreement. That reveals to us something right there. That reveals to us that they had a prenup. That's the premarital agreement, okay? And the prenup most likely said that in the event of divorce, she would not get spousal support. So she waived getting spousal support, I'm guessing, if this article is accurate, in the prenup that she signed with Kevin Costner, which was very, very wise of him to do. However, what we then saw was her getting a temporary child support amount for $129,000 a month, which is really significant. I mean, to put this into perspective, Britney Spears is paying about $20,000 a month for each kid. She has two kids. She's paying $40K a month. Tyrese Gibson's paying about, I think, $10,000 to $20,000 a month for one child. So for three kids, Kevin Costner's ex-wife was getting $129,000 a month. She said that was not enough. I want $248,000 a month. I would never have challenged the $129,000 a month award and said it was insufficient. Ward, partner and co-chair of the matrimonial and family law practice at Blank Rome, told Fox News Digital. That is more than the vast majority of people make in a year, and she was getting it in a month. And to go to court and say that was insufficient for a lifestyle, I think was a mistake. So she tried to go to the court and say, hey, I need more money. The kids are used to a much more extravagant lifestyle, and I want you, the judge, to factor that into consideration when awarding child support. And her hope was to sneak more money out of Kevin Costner in lieu of the spousal support. And we know that she's trying to get spousal support because her and her attorney are challenging the prenup to probably get it thrown out so that she can then be awarded spousal support. When a judge awards spousal support, the judge has to take certain factors into consideration. How long you guys were married for. In California, if it's over 10 years, that's considered a long-term marriage. The age and health, I mean, maybe one spouse or the other is disabled, so they might need spousal support for a lot longer, depending on if they're unable to get an education and a job or whatever the case is. Both parties' incomes, if both parties work, if she makes as much money as you, there's probably not going to be any spousal support, right? Whatever you're capable of earning, maybe she's got a master's degree, but she hasn't used it in 10 years. And this one is the most important one, your standard of living while married. So the reason that's important is because if you're, making a lot of money like Kevin Costner, a person might only really need so much money to survive a month. Like if I think about Sacramento and I think about like a 2-bedroom apartment and maybe a car, groceries, these kinds of things, she could probably get by on, let's say, $6,000 a month. All right. Like let's $6,000 a month. She can live somewhere. Like let's just say it was here. But instead, that's not good enough. That's not a good enough argument for me to make to a judge, because they might say, well, this was all marital assets and property and income during your marriage, and your ex-wife was accustomed to a certain lifestyle. So they're compelled by law to take that into making their decision, and then they will award a spousal support amount based off of that. These are the California Family Law Codes 4320. In ordering spousal support under this part, the court shall consider all of the following circumstances: the extent to which the earning capacity of each party is sufficient to maintain the standard of living established during the marriage. So it's a really important thing to consider, and by understanding how this works, you can kind of see what the strategy and the game plan was here for Kevin Costner's ex-wife and her attorney. They knew what the prenup was. They knew she's not entitled to spousal support. So what they're trying to do is get more money through child support, because child support is something that can't be waived in a prenup, right? So long as you have minor children, the kids, by virtue of the law, are always entitled to a child support amount. She was getting $129,000 a month already, but still tried to get more money, and the judge slashed it. The judge slashed it to what to me appears to be what the guideline calculator says, which was about $61,000 a month or $63,000 a month. So now each of the kids are, they're getting around $20,000 a month, which is in line with Britney Spears and Tyrese. And of course it's all dependent on the individual income. So Tyrese, Britney, and Kevin Costner are for sure making different amounts, but for a celebrity in that world, I'm saying the amount that he's paying now, it just seems to be a lot more in line with what you'd expect for people of that tier. Details of the settlement between Baumgartner and Costner remain unknown. However, it is believed that the mother of 3 received $1.5 million, which was the amount agreed upon in the prenup, in addition to other undisclosed fees. It comes after Costner's lawyer, Laura Wasser, argued that her client was initially willing to find a middle ground out of court, but Baumgartner's demands were unrealistic and frankly outrageous. So Kevin Costner was willing to work with Christine Baumgartner and come up with a more reasonable plan. And Christine Baumgartner said, no, I want a lot more money than Kevin Costner thought was realistic, so it went to court because they couldn't reach an agreement. Now that Christine Baumgartner lost and is getting a lot less money, which in my opinion is still an outrageous amount of money, $63,000 a month, she's regretting leaving him because Kevin Costner was a great provider and she was able to buy whatever she wanted in that marriage. Here's a couple comments from the article. This entire child support thing needs to be thoroughly overhauled. The amount of child support someone pays should not be based on their income unless they do not make enough to pay 50% of the estimated amount it costs to raise a child monthly. Private schools and living a life of luxury and entitlement should not be included in what it costs to raise children. I absolutely agree with this. I think child support and spousal support should have caps on it. And the cap should be determined by what's economically feasible for living a life, above poverty, maybe even right in the middle class in whatever jurisdiction is handling the divorce. So whether it's at the county of Sacramento, the county of LA, or in a completely different state. Economists there can determine what that amount would be. Instead, because of the laws that we looked at here earlier in the California family codes, and this is, in many other states also, the judges are compelled to take into consideration the lifestyle that was maintained and provided for during the marriage. What I don't like is how this works with no-fault divorce. So we saw that they cited irreconcilable differences as the grounds for their divorce. And if you watch my episode on no-fault divorce, what we know is that is the legal language that's used when a no-fault divorce occurs, meaning that she made the decision unilaterally. That means just her. It's not like Kevin Costner and her wanted to get divorced. She wanted to get divorced. She decided that she no longer wanted to be married with Kevin Costner, and she walked away from him. She walked away from the lifestyle he could provide. And the way the law works now, especially if they didn't have a prenup, is that when a divorce happens, the courts are trying to create a kind of equality between the lifestyle in the one household and the lifestyle in the new household where the divorced parent goes. But in my opinion, if she willingly chose to leave the provider, especially when there was no real issue other than she didn't want to be there, then she is not entitled to what that provider can give her. What she should be entitled to is just enough to pay her bills for however long it takes for her to find a job, and maybe even go to school or whatever until she can be eligible for the job market. And this is more pronounced when the provider is someone like a celebrity. You know what I mean? If you want to walk away from the lifestyle, great, you're free to walk away. We got no-fault divorce, but that doesn't mean you get to leave with the money. You get just enough for what's needed to survive, right? And if anything, that would help facilitate a better relationship between the kids, right? Because if mom's only getting enough to take care of the kids at that base level, then she's incentivized to facilitate a relationship between the children and the provider, the father, right? So parental alienation would be reduced, because if she wants the kids to have more money, well, then they got to be willing to come to the table and discuss it with the provider, because he's already providing the base level. Anything past the necessity should not matter. I agree. She lived the high life, and so did her kids when she was married to someone who could provide that. Now that she wants to walk out on him, she should not be entitled to keep living that lifestyle. Her kids can live that way when they see dad, but when they go home, they should live the way their mother can support them, along with a reasonable amount of child support from the father. Get a job, lady, if you want more. He should thank his lucky stars that he is rid of her. So these are interesting things that can be debated, but it's important to know how the law works here. And the most important thing to consider is that Kevin Costner had a prenup. So far, the prenup is working for him in the fact that he's managed to dodge spousal support. However, it's not a 100% sure thing, because as we read from the Fox News article, they're set back in court in November because her and the attorney are challenging the validity of the prenuptial agreement. If by chance they're successful and the validity of the prenup gets debased and thrown out, now Kevin Costner is wide open to be on the hook for spousal support. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you think down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you learned something. We'll see you on the next one.